All right, people, welcome in. A very happy first Saturday of March. Let the madness begin here. 133 college basketball games on tap here today. A lot of the mid-major conferences, this is their final regular season. We're going to start conference tournaments this week. Of course, a couple of big games with top 25 teams. We'll have an update from our friends at the Westgate. Art DeCesar already sending me who the pros are on, who the Joes are on, and who they like as Kelly Stewart is in beautiful Mexico, I believe, Cancun, I believe, enjoying herself, a little time off, visiting some friends. So we will handle business here on Last Call. Shout out to those of you joining us on the chat rooms here today on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, on X, Facebook, wherever the hell you may be. Smash that like button, guys. Give us the thumbs up, and let's kick it off the only way that we know how on this Saturday, and that is with our main man, Gianni the Greek, in celebrating here. Gianni, congrats. I know
Thank you.
It's a big week for you, my man. You are engaged, and you will soon be spending the rest of your life in extreme happiness, and we could not be happier for you, brother. But the one thing I know that trumps that is sweeping the damn board here today. So let's see if we can't find some winners here, because it is a monster, and I mean a monster day for a lot of teams here, VR. So kick us off with, first and foremost, what have you seen so far this week? It's a little tricky the end of the year this time leading into tournaments. The games don't mean as much. So what have you been seeing this week so far?
Yeah, and we've had a decent week. I'm coming off a losing night, but in college basketball, we've been on fire since the beginning of 2025, and that's the perfect way to go into March Madness, into the conference tournaments. We've been betting. I mean, I see that, like you said, the volume's kind of slowed down a little bit due to the uncertainty, and more importantly, people awaiting March Madness and coming off a little bit of a hangover after the Super Bowl. You tend to get that. It's like that lull in between the Super Bowl break and then March Madness, the excitement and leading into the start of Major League Baseball. But for us, it's been business as usual. Just betting college basketball, hitting those sides and totals, rarely doing the overnights because, again, the limits are lower. The guys I work with tend to wait until they could get more down. But so far today, it has been low volume. That does stick out a little bit, but it's been more concentrated with bigger bets. In fact, I released the first 5%. I haven't fired a 5% in college basketball in 2024-2025 season. So in this season, I have not fired a college basketball at 5%, even though, like I said, we've been on fire in college buckets since the first of the year. It's just nothing really stood out that's that much stronger than everything else. So I've been firing 4%, 3%. But like I said, as we get to where, like you said, the volumes are a little bit less, and more importantly, there's some less motivation, which motivation is difficult to quantify to begin with. How many points is motivation actually worth? But when you have that scenario, you tend to see these groups looking for bigger edges, which allows them to place bigger bets but lower volume. Where on a normal Saturday, what I see all the time is they're just firing. Like you see, by this time, I have 3 pages of sides and totals that we bet. Last week, if you rewind, you'll see I had 3 pages by this time. And yet today, I'm on 1 page, and we haven't even filled it yet. Because of the fact it's been more concentrated, but we've taken a few bigger positions. Like we took like Denver. We took Denver at +8.5, +8. Even had, my group didn't, but a guy I trade with, they took +7.5 and even willing to take +7. So it seems like they're isolating bigger positions, but less of them. And even speaking of baseball, that's why I had to put this on for today's Steam Room. Firing some Major League Baseball season win totals. Those we bet. We don't bet usually a team to win the NL or the AL or a future to win the World Series, because I've talked about it a lot, the hold so high on those types of futures. But the edges are great enough on these season win totals that we are willing to lock that money up in a bet that's not going to cash until September, October. And again, I mean, now with the interest rate as high as it is, you could put money in an interest-bearing account and guarantee yourself a return on investment. So if these guys are willing to lock up their money for 6, 7, 8 months, it tells me these are some strong positions. So anyone that's got, I told Gianni, anyone, usually it's the long-term guys, but anyone that's gotten 30 days or more, they're coming into the steam room today because we're going to release at least 4 Major League Baseball season win totals, see if we could get out ahead of the market.
Oh, I love that. All right, Gianni, we got a whole bunch of guys, and we appreciate you hanging out with us here today. The card today is fascinating because it kicks off in the noon slate with a whole lot of very well-known teams in some of the bigger conferences, right? We've got the Big Ten, the ACC, kicking off here in the noon slate. The first game right off the bat, which I think is fascinating because I thought we'd start to see more money. 601, 602, Gianni, Maryland and Penn State. You would think that more people would be running to back Maryland, but it's been the other way. I'm seeing nothing but Penn State money here this morning.
Yeah, I actually released that. Going to let you guys know now. I gave Penn State out at +5 to my subscribers. In fact, I got 5.5. I told them it's good up till 5. I think DK had +5.5 at -115. Definitely worth it because 5 is one of those numbers. I think you could pay up to -121, and most charge only -120 to buy that half point from +4.5 up to +5. So I urge them to do that if they got the play late or, we're still sleeping or not firing yet. Because I'm sure I knew when we got down 5.5 -115 that it was going to get to 5 and possibly 4.5. I'm now seeing 4.5s across the screen. It's worth buying the half point there. As long as you're not paying more than 121, 122 for that. And most, like I had to get down more for someone else, and I paid -120. So you should be able to find that. Yeah, we're on the Penn State +5 team. Home dog against Maryland. I expect to see more volume as well. I find a little comfort in seeing that it hasn't been a heavy bet game, Joe. But looking in the back end, it's at least 65-35 in favor of Maryland. So you are getting more public money also helping eliminate some of that risk. And I think it's expecting to bounce back. Maryland was a favorite, right, against Michigan State at home. They were coming in a roll. They had won 8 of 9. They had covered 4 in a row. And they just didn't get the job done, losing that one by a 3-point shot, more or less, 3 points. So I think a lot of recreational bettors are expecting the bounce back at Penn State, which has only been they win about 2 out of 3 at home. So it's not really even a high win percentage at home, which most teams you see, they're like 11-2 at home, even if they're 500 on the road. So not a strong home court advantage for Penn State. I think that's the conclusion that the recreational bettors, why they're on Maryland. The bounce back, the weaker home court advantage for Penn State. But like I said, we took the 5, and even power rating, the ones I respect, had this one at about 4. So find a little comfort in we're against the recreational bettors, and power ratings reflect it. And why not home dog Penn State?
Yeah, home dog Penn State. By the way, I just want to address dude in the chat room here, Gianni. He must be really popular with the ladies, Mike A, because he just give us the damn picks, man. Give us ours picks. Give us the damn pick. Yeah, the ladies must love you, dude. So here's how this works, okay? If you want the picks right now, go to WagerTalk.com. Go to Gianni's page. They're all up there, brother. You don't have to wait for anything, all right? I get it. Some dudes aren't into foreplay. I get it, man. But listen, we got a lot of stuff, the ins and outs to discuss here. You want the picks? Go to his page at WagerTalk.com, and you can get them
You're
all. You
already
don't
going to
even
get
have to bother.
4 premium plays in hoops, and a couple of MMA plays as well, ready to fire.
Yep. Exactly. Go help yourself, dude. Just leave us alone. All right. So, Gianni, let's move down the board here. Another early game coming in right off the bat. I can't. Connecticut and Providence, 6-11, 6-12. I saw 7 last night. I'm still seeing 7 here. So nobody trusts Connecticut, I guess, at this point on the road against Providence, who, let's face it, is not a very good team here. But I'm still seeing 7s here.
And this is what sticks out. This is one of them where I do like to look at the market, and I like to look at the sheets to see what the recreational bettors are on, anything that sticks out a lot, because it lets me know, is a book taking a position themselves, or are they looking to eliminate some of the risk? This is one of those games where so far they're not looking to eliminate the risk, because I can tell you with certainty, the back end I'm looking at right now has about 85%, close to 90% of not just the tickets, but the money bet on the Connecticut side. And yet the books, usually what happen here is let's bump it up. Let's help limit some of our risk, because if the true line should be, Connecticut -6, at -8, and they have it at 7, you're going to see some sharper bettors come in. So far, no one's gotten involved. But if they think it should be at -6, and all of a sudden you have it at 7, push it up to 7.5, you're going to see some sharp bettors come in and take that 7.5. You could push it to 8. They could come in and take that 8, eliminate some of the book's risk. That's not happening here. They're saying, keep playing the 7. We're comfortable with that. So take that as you will. But to me, that's a telling sign that at least the bookmakers feel confident that Connecticut -7 at -110 isn't a plus EV bet. Otherwise, they'd be looking to jack that price up, because, again, like you said, it's an early game and it's very, very concentrated. Also, I thought they asked about the over-under on that game. It's more on the under. The parlays are going with Connecticut and under, even teasers, Connecticut and under. Why would you tease the side with the total? Why'd you tease the side anyway in college basketball? But that's what I'm seeing. It's all Connecticut on the side, and more importantly, betting the under with it as well. The under's gotten some respect. I think it was 47.5. Now we're looking at 145. So there you see they're looking to eliminate some of the risk, even though I don't have it on my sheet and the guys I trade with don't have it on theirs. So that under seems like they're looking to eliminate some of their risk on the under by trying to get some over money at a lower total.
Let's hit up. Let's go to the 1 o'clock game. Everyone seems to be excited about here, and that's going to be 6:15, 6:16. VR Auburn and Kentucky.
Yep.
I saw 4.5 as an open. I'm seeing 5s, but not much more than that. I'm also seeing the total kind of stagnant a little bit here. You would think we would have seen the total get pushed, but these are just fascinating line movements to me with some of these bigger games, not seeing the kind of push we thought we might.
No, and here is a Kentucky team that I think's a little bit undervalued. Meaning, when I look at the power ratings I respect, they have them a lot higher than I think you'd see the rankings show with a team like Kentucky. And I think that's why you're getting a little bit of sharp money so far on Kentucky. A group I bet with didn't touch it yet, but a guy that sends stuff to me, they took the Kentucky side as home dogs, even a small sprinkle on that money line, which is what they do. If you're going to put 100% of a bet on, they're going to put 90 on the side, 10% on the money line when it thinks it's in that position to, win, especially a home dog. I see that all the time. Sometimes even 20% of the bet will go on the money line. And you are going anti-recreational bettors here, because they are betting Auburn and they are betting the over as well. Over even sticks out a little more than Auburn. And yet, if you look at the total, that's gotten some respect the other way, because I think it was 68.5 see-through in some of the overnights. And now you're looking at 66.5. I seen one of my sharp outs with the under favored. So you have to lay juice to go under there. Kind of like right before that, the game right above it, Butler and Villanova, same situation. All over money from the recreational bettors. I mean, not a single under bet have I seen in that back end so far. And yet my sharpest out is charging me -115 to go under that total. So it seems like it got hit from a definite sharp group likes that under, and they're letting you go over at -105. Again, another telling sign for me. Doesn't mean it's going to cash a ticket, but those to me are red flags all day. So getting back to Auburn, Kentucky, all Auburn, all over, and more importantly, it's the heaviest bet game. When I look at the 9 o'clock, which is noon Eastern, and 1 Eastern, that has the most volume and the most money. So it's got the most ticket count, but more importantly, the most amount of money one-sided on the Auburn team as road favorites.
Yep. I'll give you one. I know Big Daddy in the chat. Shout out to Big Daddy and Bill Sandoval, Sergio Gray in the house there. James, good to see you guys. If you haven't hit the like button already, thanks. Appreciate it. Subscribe would help too as well, guys. Do the thing with the buttons. You know how it works. Gianni, the biggest movement I've seen in these 12 o'clock games, another head scratcher, is what's happening 603, 604. Miami money hammering, and I saw 18 and a half. I'm now seeing 16s in the marketplace. So we're seeing a lot of Miami love here, and boy, are they awful. But they're on the road against North Carolina. It's a big number, but certainly one North Carolina would be capable of covering, but the market thinks it was way too much.
Yeah, and this was one of those that you saw a little manipulation, a little head fake. And you see that all the time from the guys that bet the overnights and have the ability to manipulate the market. They'll move it opposite of what they like because they know all they got to do is fire a limit bet. And a limit bet at overnights is like a nickel. So for a nickel in the right account at the right book that's on screen, you're going to get the line move exactly the way you want it to move. And this one, as they did, open 17 and a half, bet it up to 18 and a half, which again took one limit bet because it's North Carolina. The book's expecting we're going to get North Carolina money against a team like Miami. So, if the sharps are going to be going North Carolina, we better move this one quickly and significantly because you usually see those half-point line movements more times than not, especially on the big board like Saturday where they're going to get good two-way action on a lot of these games, and they could easily limit their risk by moving the line in the direction that they please. Here, you saw they got scared and said, we don't want to be against the sharp bettors and against the recreational bettors and needing a team like Miami to get us the money. So what did they do? They went to 18 and a half. And that's when you saw the 5X, 7X amount opposite that. North Carolina plus 18 and a half, North Carolina plus 18, plus 17 and a half, plus 17. And that's why you're looking at 16 and a half pretty much against the board. In fact, another game where my sharp out is charging me minus 115 now to take the 16 and a half on Miami. So there's multiple groups that took that Miami at 18 and at 17. And that's why I even see 16 right now at Circa Westgate, 16 here in Vegas. Again, those are telling signs. Use the information as you wish. But to me, reading the market and finding positions a lot of times that way, it's a telling sign to me. I don't want to be on the opposite of that much respect. Doesn't mean I'm going to cash a ticket. I mean, North Carolina, like you said, could go out there and win by 20 easily. But at least the guys that win long-term, they don't think so. They don't think that's going to happen today.
Yep. They're not buying it, by the way. I know, I believe it was Sergio in the chat wanted to know if Cleveland is playing in that game. He was, as of 9 o'clock this morning, still a game time decision. We'll let you know if anything pops up here for Miami, but that is by far the game that I saw the most movement on early in this early slate. And I'm kind of shocked. The other game here, Gianni, that has not gotten as much love as I thought. You had mentioned Auburn, Kentucky is the biggest bet game. What about 623, 624, Arkansas and South Carolina? I'm seeing South Carolina love now, pushing them as a slight favorite at home here. What gives in that one?
And it's all one-sided. I mean, again, when you see 75% of the money on a team that's -6, -7, -8, you expect that. If you look at the money line, it reflects that it should win that, if -400 should win 8 out of 10 times. So if you see a heavy chalk side getting all the money, that's what they should be. That's what you expect. But when you see a game that's a pick 'em, -1, -2, or more importantly, a dog, and it's getting all of the love, that has to stick out for even the most fan who, is trying to pick winners and not care about, the number. That has to stick out. And this is one of those that absolutely do, because you're getting all one-sided money on South Carolina and the over in that game. So that's another heavily bet game. Surprising it's getting that much attention, but it really is. And again, it's on the over also. So you're getting South Carolina money. You're getting over in that one. It's so weird to see some of these games just be so one-sided, and they're still betting it. Like, again, if you looked at the line movement, you go to Odds Logic, and I see that, wait a minute, if I bet this yesterday, I could have got 3.5. If I bet this yesterday evening, I still could have got 2.5. If I woke up this morning and bet it, I could have got +1. Like, now you're not, like, even if they covered, you're just not betting from any position of strength at all. And yet here they go laying 1 now on South Carolina. So you could have got 3.5. You could have got 2.5. Now you're willing to lay 1. It just doesn't make sense to me. Even if they go out there and win by 30, I just don't see how, betting like that is going to produce good long-term results.
No, it's not. And a lot of these are very head scratching. And I know another game that was brought up in the chat. I'd be very careful here. Clemson, 605, 606. Everyone seems to think Clemson is it's an easy win on the road to Virginia. But you know what the market's telling us, Gianni? Not so damn quick. This opened up at 7. I'm seeing 6.5. So it's been nothing but Virginia money. Are we laying that kind of number on the road with Clemson? Because the market doesn't seem to think so.
I didn't. In fact, I took +7.5 for one of the college basketball guys I moved for. Yep. And I released it to subscribers at +7 as a 3% play. For me, 3% means 0.75% of bankroll. I don't bet 3% of my bankroll on any single play. We bet 0.25 based on the rating, 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%, never betting more than 1.25% of bankroll. That allows us to overcome any negative swings. So we're some of the few that are holding a Virginia ticket against this Clemson side. This is the first time they're playing this season, right? But Clemson's coming in on fire. Wow. Where they've covered 5 straight games. They've won 9 of their last 10. And they're coming off a Virginia team that just won outright at Wake Forest. Back-to-back road games. Now coming back home, where, if you remember, they lost their last home game against Duke. They lost 2 out of 3 of those home games. They lost to Virginia Tech as well. The only game they won was against Georgia Tech in a game that they were favored in. So I don't fault the recreational bettors for liking that road favorite, but I think this line's skewed towards that recency bias of Virginia at home, coupled with Clemson being on fire, not just straight up by ATS. For me, that's usually the perfect storm to get line value. Doesn't mean you're going to cash a ticket, but usually means you're getting the best of it. And at +7, I like that Virginia side and released it to subscribers.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, Virginia, we all know. Clemson, elite defensively, top 25. We know Virginia is like watching paint dry. And look at what that total's done, Jan. It opened up at 127. We're now up to 132.5 in some spots. Are you kidding me? So now we're expecting even more scoring than what we would thought. So now we're expecting points. So, again, very interesting market movement here early on in the day. Let me give you one more that everyone seems to be talking about here in the chat room. And who better when you've got Alabama 669, 670. Bama taking on Tennessee here. And Tennessee at home, I'm seeing nothing but Tennessee money. -3 to open. I'm seeing a lot of 4s holding strong. The total is hilarious, though. The total opened up at 154, and it's almost 160, Gianni. The last couple of times these two teams have played, Bama has sped up Tennessee, and those totals have been way higher than what you're used to seeing for Tennessee games. Man, is it Tennessee the home favorite? Is that the way the market's looking right now?
Yeah, I didn't bet it, haven't released anything like that. But again, I share information with other guys that move, and they bet the Tennessee side for whoever they move for. They took Tennessee, but at -3. One of those key numbers in college basketball. They laid the 3. That was the overnight number. Again, it's a group that bets overnight. And the reason I don't like having confidence in those is because what I talked about earlier, it takes very little money overnight. Books are not willing to take much risk. And these guys laid 3. It's a side that the recreational bettors are taking as well. It's now 4. If they move it up to 4.5 or 5, I won't be surprised if this exact same guy that I share with comes back and sends me, Alabama on our IM, and I see Alabama +5 from that very same group taking it. So even though you're expecting a lot of points, it usually doesn't happen in games like that, especially when you see the total move so significantly from 154.5 to 159, 59.5, and you're still getting over from the recreational bettors. Like it wasn't enough that they didn't bet it last night at 54.5, 55.5, 56.5, 57.5, but they woke up this morning betting it over 59, 59.5. I hope for them they score 180 because I don't have a bet on that side and I'm not booking their action. But to me, that's why you need, like, if you don't bet enough to have a subscription service like Odds Logic, hit my link on my page. You're going to get a free week. Just use it for a free week so you see what I'm talking about.
Yes.
But then at least use the odds screen at WagerTalk. It's as good as you're going to get for free, having only 5 minutes behind, because you could click the line at the book you want and see where did they open it? Where's it sitting now? They have sharp books up there. They have Superbook, Circa, Bet Online. So you have sharp books to compare to, and then you have the DraftKings, I don't want to call out other books, but you know what I'm talking about, the Square books. And you can see where the difference of opinions are between bookmakers. Like, that's golden information, and it's free just sitting there at WagerTalk. And if you click that, you would have seen that you could have got 140, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58. Why would you be betting over 59 right now? It just doesn't make sense. You're buying at the top. And we know how that, we saw that in crypto just the other day. If you bought at 109 because everybody was telling you it's going to 200,000, you had a decision to make when you saw it around that $80,000 mark. Like, am I going to hold on to this anymore? But if you bought at 40, 50, you're not sweating. You're like, yeah, I lost some of my gains. That's all that happened. That's why trade from a position of strength, bet from a position of strength, and you never have to sweat those kind of big moves.
Words to live by, Gianni. Outstanding stuff as always, brother. I know you got a busy day here, obviously, college. What else is going on? You got the Steam Room coming up. What's at your page? I know there's UFC here tonight as well.
And like I said, I didn't think it was coming. I didn't even have a college basketball package up until about an hour ago, because I wasn't even going to put one up today because, you know, it's MMA's where I have more of the volume today. And the college basketball, I know guys that are doing the daily, they're looking for the bigger plays. So my guys are more by the week, by the month, by the year. So I wasn't even in any rush to do anything. But then, like I said, I got strong confirmation on a very strong lean that I had in college basketball. I said, dude, I got to get that 5% out there for my subscribers and then make it available as well. So it's there at WagerTalk. There's a 5% big move in there. The first of the 24-25 college basketball season. I have NBA in that same package. I got college basketball with 4% on earlier games. And of course, there's the MMA card as well. Fortunately, the 5% is a late game. So let's see if we could make some money going into it. And then we could sit back and see if we double up, or, you know, hopefully we don't have to catch up. But I'll have the Steam Room. We're going to be going through as much college basketball as possible and all the rest. And like I said, Major League Baseball win totals, I'll be giving them the subscribers today. So busy day. And hopefully when the dust settles, we do some damage.
Love it. Gianni, get out of here, man. As always, we appreciate the time. Make sure you guys head over, visit him in the Steam Room. Check it out over at WagerTalk.com. Visit his page here today. All right, before we get Double R, 1L up and ready to roll here, I do have the Joes versus the Pros info straight from our good friend Art DeCesar at the Westgate. So before I drop that on you guys, could you hit the like button? We'd certainly appreciate it there. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging with us here. Steve Utterbeck in there. Leg Show Magazine, good to see you guys as always there. Mike in the house. You guys rock. We appreciate you hanging with us here today. It's going to be a good day. We're going to cash a few tickets here with 133 college basketball games ready to go. Also, side note, by the way, Robinson not going for Kentucky. By the way, he has just now been ruled out. So Jackson Robinson not going. One of the guards there for Kentucky, he is out. So keep an eye on some of these injuries as well. By the way, Mark Sears cleared for Alabama. Trayvon Mark cleared for Texas. Both will be going in those games here tonight. All right, a quick look at the sharp action here from the Westgate in Las Vegas. Art's telling us Hofstra getting a little bit of love in the marketplace from the pros right now. 9.5, now 10.5. They've been hammering Hofstra. They've also been betting Utah State today from 2.5, now down to 1.5. Utah State opened up as the dog. Could very well go to a pick'em. And I know Steve Merrill's going to love this. The pros are hammering William and Mary. That was about a pick'em. We saw it move to -2 at the Westgate. A lot of pros on William and Mary here. Also, the pros like Arkansas. Even though we're starting to see a lot of push towards the South Carolina side, Arkansas, a lot of pros came in, hammered Arkansas early. They also hammered Toledo, -5, now -6.5. As far as the pros go, the public goes, rather, they are on USC, Vatech, Indiana, and Missouri. Public big time on those 4 teams. And, of course, his favorite play, though, as you guys always ask each and every week, Art DeCesar, his favorite play, Cal Santa Barbara +6 tonight. Little West Coast action there. That is Art DeCesar's best bet. We appreciate his knowledge and info each and every week here on Last Call. All right, let's dive in. Double R, 1L in the house. Bring his ass in here. Merrill, the first thing I'm going to say is I know you got your William and Mary thong on somewhere. I know you're repping. The pros are hammering it according to the web. There it is, people. There it is. The big question I have is, did you bet William and Mary here today, or do you not bet when you go to the games? How does that work? Are you superstitious like that?
Yeah, I can't bet on William and Mary games because first of all, I'm in the state of Virginia, wouldn't be allowed.
Oh,
but more
that's
importantly,
right.
I've got to stay neutral because like those analysts on ESPN, they don't pick the games they're broadcasting, which I always thought was so silly. Like because you made a studio pick, you're going to be biased while you're broadcasting to 10 million people. But
so true.
Now I'll give you a handicap though. This game, it is on the surface a very good spot for William and Mary for several reasons. But I also think one of the reasons that line moved is it was just a bad number. I've been telling people all week I projected William and Mary to be about a 3.5 point favorite in this game. So like you said, Joe, it opened 1. Now it's sitting 3.5. So I did like William and Mary -1. It was just the wrong number. The problem is Northeastern is a very underrated team. Could be a team that's worth keeping an eye on next week in the CAA tournament. But this is a huge game for the Tribe. The top 4 teams get a double bye for the tournament next week. If William and Mary wins today or Campbell loses at Charleston, which is about a 70% chance that happens, William and Mary finishes 4th. So win and they're in with a double bye. And it's also senior night for 6 or 7 seniors this afternoon. And William and Mary's only lost 1 home game all season. And that was on Monday night when they blew a 9-point second-half lead against Wilmington, who's the best team in the conference. So at -1, that number just wasn't right. But I still would be late if you're going to play with the Tribe even at -3.
Last regular season games, guys, for 10 conferences. Coastal is one of them. I believe you're right there, Merrill, right? Towson and Wilmington have already locked up the top 2 seeds. But I believe
Correct.
everything else is pretty much up for grabs. And I do believe it works now that the bottom 4 teams will have to play in the first round. And we know that's Hofstra, Delaware, North Carolina, A&T, and Stony Brook. Charleston is apparently locked into a double bye as either the 3 or 4. And these are the kinds of things
Correct.
you got to know heading into today with these conferences because everything has kind of changed here a little bit. But it is the final regular season game for a lot of these teams here. All right, we've got right off the bat, is it Eris wants to know Merrill's thoughts on Iowa State versus Arizona. We did see this line move down by a point overnight towards the Arizona side. I'm still seeing a little bit of love here for Arizona in the marketplace. The big question is with Iowa State, they lost their big man there. They lost their shooting. It's not been a great run for them, but do we really trust Arizona on the road in this spot here, who can't hit a 3 on the road?
Yeah, this game's actually part of my top 25 video. It's one of 5 games I broke down. So everybody after the show today, be sure to check out that top 25 video. They're all late afternoon, nighttime games mostly. And this is one of the big matchups. And on the surface, I do think Arizona's the better team right now than Iowa State. But as I said in the video, this is a great setup for Iowa State for several reasons. First of all, they're coming off back-to-back losses. Whenever I get a Class A team in a very focused spot at home, And that usually occurs when you're off 1 or 2 losses. That makes my short list. And then on top of that, we've got strong home court focus spot and revenge as well for somewhat of a misleading loss. They lost by 11 at Arizona at the end of January, but that was in overtime. In fact, they led by about a half a point on average in regulation. They actually were the better team overall in regulation. It was a really even matchup on the road, so they can definitely play with Arizona, and I do think this is an excellent bounce-back spot for them. And Arizona enters here off a win against Utah, and they've got a game against rival Arizona State on deck. I like Iowa State here. I do think Arizona is probably the better overall team, but the situation definitely screams Cyclones in this one.
Yeah, that's a tough place to play here. No better way to right the ship than a game at home to be able to get it done here. All right, a couple of the other big games here on the board that have been getting a whole lot of love, and we know the University of Florida just kind of beat themselves against Georgia. But listen, when Georgia is dropping threes and they shoot, 75% from 3 in the first half, it was hard for Florida to be able to come back, but they certainly outplayed them in the second half. Now Florida gets to go home and try and get a little kind of wash the stink off of that loss. But the problem is they're taking on Texas A&M, who has lost, 3 in a row now? Buzz Williams is on suicide watch here, Merril. It is not good for A&M. A&M can't go toe-to-toe with Florida, can they?
Everyone always talks about a defense wins championships, and you got to have a good defense to win championships, but you must have a good offense to win championships. And in the modern era of college and pro football, basketball, everything's higher scoring, faster pace at all levels, and offense is what you want. And things can get really ugly when it's not going well offensively, and that's exactly what's happened here for Texas A&M. This is a team that was 20-5 straight up just 2 weeks ago. 2 Saturdays ago, they were 20-5. They're now 20-8 because they've lost 3 straight, and they've been fairly ugly at times. And this is a great setup for Florida. Once again, talking about Class A teams in a focus spot off a loss. Well, Florida's loss to Georgia was only their 4th loss of the season. They have not lost back-to-back games all year. Let's look at the other 3 times they've come off a loss. Back in early January, after losing Kentucky, they beat Tennessee by 30 at home. After losing to Missouri by 1 in mid-January, they beat Texas by 24 at home. And then after losing to Tennessee in that rematch, they came back and beat Vanderbilt by 11 at home. So all 3 double-digit wins at home off a loss. And I don't think A&M's as good as any of those other 3 teams they face. So, yeah, if you're going to play it, you definitely lay it with Florida.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think Florida at home, just too much offense. The problem with Buzz's team this year is offensively they're putrid. And so you can be, and they're not as good defensively as they've been in years past either, but it's not a good matchup either way there. I will say also here, we've got a couple of games coming up, Merril, wanted to get your thoughts on. And we were talking about this earlier, kind of scratching our head with the line movement with UConn taking on Providence at the top of the hour. It's been all UConn, but the line's not moving here. Like, they're not pushing the line up. I saw 7. I'm still seeing 7s. The total seems to have also kind of hit a brick wall here. What do we got there? 146 now, 145 and a half. But that's it. Something's got to give here, right? Is Providence going to outright beat UConn at home?
Yeah, I was just talking to some people yesterday about Connecticut. They've been the real surprise team to me. We were talking about St. John's, actually, how much better they've gotten, and that's when I mentioned Connecticut. And, yeah, I really, when I watched them win another national title last year, I just thought to myself, like, Hurley can just sit back and do nothing. Like, he's going to get 2 or 4 or 5 NBA lottery picks every year wanting to come to the school. And, like, I mean, how are they not going to be just dominant? And I'm really shocked about how much weaker they are this year. And the big difference has been on the defensive side of the ball. That's where there's been a huge drop-off this season. Offensively, they're still very good. It's just the defensive side is where they do struggle at times. I do think they're a very dangerous team, maybe not only for the Big East tournament, but definitely if they're able to get in the NCAAs. Right now, they're a bubble team, so they can't overlook any teams like Providence. I do think they play pretty well against the second-tier teams. Yes, they lost in OT to Seton Hall. But they took care of Villanova. They took care of DePaul by double digits. The other teams they've lost to recently have all been kind of tier 1 teams, which is not Providence. So I'm not looking to fade UConn anytime in the future, but the problem has been the defense. In fact, if you look right now at adjusted efficiency, they're not even top 100. And their tempo is really slow, which could get teams trouble in the postseason, but just can't figure out what's wrong with this defense. Obviously getting Liam McNeely back in the lineup here recently is going to help. He's one of the best freshmen in the country. He did miss, I think it was like 8 straight games. He's now played in the last 6, and they've won 3-3, but one was an overtime loss. He scored double digits in every one of those games. So I do think there's some upside with UConn, and maybe we'll see that today.
Yeah, we might very well see that. UConn certainly could run the tail. I just don't trust Providence. Again, too many injuries, and this isn't the Providence of Ed Cooley years by any stretch. Just a note, guys, those of you, we talked about this Miami game against North Carolina coming up, Merril, and all of the money, we were kind of shocked. They've been hammering Miami at 18.5, 17.5, now down to 16.5, even 16s. I know somebody in the chat room had asked, is Matthew Cleveland playing for Miami, one of their leading scorers? And the answer is no. He's just been ruled out at North Carolina. And I'm trying to see if that has moved the needle at all in the market here, Merril. But I am still seeing, now I'm starting to see 17 and a half. So here it goes. It was as low as 16, but without their leading scorer on the floor, it looks like an about face happening here in the market right now with Miami and North Carolina.
Yeah, and Gianni mentioned it. I mean, this is why oddslogic.com is so nice. You can click on the live injury updates as well. It's what the sportsbooks use. Oddslogic.com/SM if you want to try it for free for 7 days. Not a bad day on Saturday to start using it with all the injury information. Oddslogic.com/SM for that free 7-day trial like you see on the screen there. And and this is obviously going to move the needle, like you said, especially near tip. And we do also on the Oddslogic screen see this line jumping around right now. Do you trust North Carolina, though? I mean, talk about UConn underachieving. Everybody in the ACC that's not named Duke has underachieved this season, but UNC is starting to turn it on now. 4 straight wins after going 7-6 in the conference. They're now 11-6. They're playing themselves probably off the bubble, in my opinion, and they've had 4 of their best showings these last 4 games. And Miami a little bit shorthanded here. If you're going to play it, I would lay it with the Tar Heels.
Yeah, it's starting to come back in there. So there you go. Take advantage of the opportunity, guys. The information in real time at Odds Logic is over the top, guys. It is a must-have in your handicapping toolbox for sure. All right, a couple more games, Merril, that we're getting questions on. We'll run through, and one of them has to do with Vanderbilt and Mizzou. I know Titan CT. Shout out to you, my man. Titan CT wants to know, Steve, your thoughts on Vandy taking on Mizzou here. This was a wild first game where Mizzou looked like they were going to blow them out. Mizzou looks like they're going to blow everyone out in the first half, by the way. Sometimes if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Mizzou's been money in the first half, but they're on the road here, and Vandy has proven to be a giant pain in the ass to a lot of teams in the SEC. So what are you thinking in this game here today?
Yeah, I mean, we all saw what Mizzou did, a couple games back to Alabama, 110 points. But keep in mind, Bama was coming off that Auburn loss the Saturday before. So I always put an asterisk. That was Alabama's worst defensive showing of the season. But with that said, Missouri is a really good offensive team still. In fact, they're currently 4th in the nation in adjusted efficiency. But what people don't realize is Vanderbilt's top 20 as well. So both offenses hold the edge here. Both teams like up-tempo. Missouri's in the upper third. Vanderbilt's even faster. And Vandy's at home here. So I look for a run-and-gun scenario, and I think the over would be the only one to play this one. 2 good offenses. Both teams like to play fast. I'll look for a lot of points in this one today on Saturday.
Yeah, I would be hard-pressed to play an under in that one there. Shout out to Seth in the house. Might win the actual, and our chat room always wins, but Seth might have the quote of the day, and it's a good reminder that, after today, Steve, you'll have one less Saturday in your lifetime. So don't waste it by not gambling. Be somebody today and get the damn bets in, okay? Outstanding stuff there, Seth, as always. Very Confucius of you. Very nice there. We're also being asked
actually. I don't know why, but that kind of tell me I have one less Saturday in my life does not sit well with me, to be honest. I don't like the sound of that at all. Confucius,
I know. Way to go, Seth. Way to go. Way to just put a damper on the whole day.
Way to ruin my first Saturday of March.
Yeah. Way to go. The guy's got to go to William and Mary game. That's not depressing enough. All right, Merril, let me ask you, BYU, what are we going to do here?
Late night. In fact, I've got a free play for this game on my page at WagerTalk.com, but I will give you a little tidbit of what I'm looking at in this one. But once again, check out that free play every day on my page. Last cut. I have 3 best bets tonight, so this was my strongest remaining opinion of all the games on the board. I do like West Virginia here. Slow down half-court team. BYU coming off 5 straight wins off a road trip. I think West Virginia can hang here. I'm not going to necessarily call for the outright upset, but I loaded it overnight at 9.5. I think they're a live dog. The reason this did not make my best bet card, there's always a reason why it's the last cut, is because I'm hesitant, Joe, to play against these teams in altitude that aren't used to these trips. And this is something I've talked a lot about this season in college basketball. With all this conference realignment, you get some weird teams in the Big 12, especially going to like Utah and BYU. They're not normal conference opponents. So that really is my concern here with West Virginia. I just don't. I normally look to play the home teams with altitude against these unfamiliar East Coast teams. But the matchup otherwise screams West Virginia. I think they can hang and keep it close still. And the fact that they're a slow down half-court team makes the altitude a little less of a factor.
Yeah, all right, there you go. BYU, it is here. I wouldn't get in front of that train at all here tonight.
West Virginia,
right,
West Virginia.
West Virginia,
normally
I'd
like
West
BYU.
Virginia.
Yeah, but that's why I think they can hang and keep
BYU.
it close. Yeah.
Yes, BYU has been, I think they're going to be either moving forward, they're either going to be a team nobody wants to play, or they're going to flame out. They're going to, crap the bed early on in the conference tournament, and that's going to be the end of them. It's one or the other with them, Merril, it feels like.
Well, and Joe, let me point this out too. I talked about this in my UNLV Nevada video last night because the game was at UNLV. Mm-hmm. Be careful with these altitude teams come postseason play on neutral courts because once again, BYU, Utah, Boise, Utah State, Wyoming, all these teams that play in altitude have a real edge at home, and teams get tired in the second half, especially in the 3-point heavy era that we live in now. Shooting's never as good, and I talked about that with Nevada, how much weaker their 3-point defense has been on the road this season. It's not a surprise. So that would be my one knock on BYU, is that maybe they're not quite as good as they look. You got to look at some of their neutral court games. They lost to Mississippi on a neutral court. They lost at Houston by 31 away from home. Mm-hmm. So we'll see if they're the real deal or not when they have to start playing on neutral courts more.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing if they're hitting threes, they're going to be tough to beat. All right, sure. Merril, what do you got locked, loaded, ready to roll at WagerTalk.com today? It's a big day across the board for you.
Yeah, so Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Several reasons to go to my page. First of all, that free play is up there every day. Just gave you a look at that West Virginia BYU game, but check out the daily free play. You can also look at the best bet recap. Swept the board last night in college hoops. In fact, we would have had a 3-0 sweep had the Celtics not blown over a 20-point lead. They were 26-0 this season when leading by over 20, and they decided to let the 3-0 sweep go. So we had 2-1, but still seeing it well in college hoops especially. I've got 3 college best bets tonight on Saturday. Also, the rest of the college season for less than $5 a day. You get today for $39. Why not get the rest of the college hoop season for about $5 a day with the all-college special for $199? Also, baseball starts in less than a month. It starts this month, the end of March 27th, less than 4 weeks away. I won over 100 units in MLB last year. We doubled our bankroll in baseball. We doubled our bankroll by August last year. Maybe pick up in all sports right now and get rest of college hoops, my red-hot baseball from last year, my all-time number 1 NBA profit leader at WagerTalk, all of next year's college and pro football with a 1-year all-access, and save $811 with promo code SM365. All the details are on my page, along with my top 25 video, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. You get there quicker with that shortcut you see on your screen, wt.buzz/SM.
Thank you, as always, Merril, RR1L. I've already bet William and Mary for you, okay? So you are good to go there. Yes,
I guess I'm cheering for him today. I'm cheering for him today.
You definitely are. And if they lose, I will never bet them ever again. You'll have to burn that shirt you're wearing there.
I didn't tell you to do that. Emotional hedge, you should have gone Northeastern just to give me an emotional hedge. Cake. Now I got double liability on William and Mary. I don't like that.
Lemon cake. Let me tell you this. Lemon cake, looking at Houston and Cincinnati, I can tell you this. There's been no Houston money. It's been all Cincinnati, and it has dropped since the open. So be careful in that spot there against Houston here. And that'll do it, guys, for us. Hit that like button if you can. We certainly appreciate the time. We will be back again tomorrow. Another edition of Last Call, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Once again, going over a big slate tomorrow. Plenty of NBA action. We got a lot to talk about, including a look at some of these conference tournaments that are starting this week. So we got a lot going on. Certainly Appreciate it as always, guys. Shout out to Bill Seibert, Andrew, Team Cat Whisper in the damn house again. Good to see. Been looking at milk cartons for you there. Eric D, Big Daddy. Shout out to Instagram, TikTok. You guys are the best. Always a pleasure to hang with you guys on a Saturday. We'll do it again tomorrow. Hit that subscribe button, like button. Cash those damn tickets today. We'll see you again then.